everybody, welcome back to HitPoint, an anime news show, a niche news show, a JRPG news show, a show where Baku and I will talk about anything and everything that catches our interest and or ire.
Why did you slow down with the JRPGs just now? Like you sounded very unsure.
Because I almost forgot. I almost forgot. That's why. You interrupted my flow. You ruined the intro, Baku.
I ruined it.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Baku? We'll be previewing a couple of trailers. We'll be talking about some industry news. Yes, this is episode 2 of the new format where we will have an increased emphasis on the various things that are occurring out there in the world. You know, we have a few really interesting headlines, but you know what? Before we dive into all of that, we'll be also answering some questions and comments from the super chats at the end of the show. And we do stream live. We are live every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Baku, buddy, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. How have you been?
I am doing okay. Spending way too much time working, you know, at work. And
aren't we all?
Like 11, 12-hour days at work for the past week and a half. And it's not gonna end until like maybe the middle of this week. And then we'll see. I can finally take some time off. I'm probably gonna take some time off next week. So yeah, it's been pretty rough. I've had to cancel streams. I told my video editor that I would send him a video, and I didn't, and I am just ashamed to everyone. Terrible. I know. We're working on it. Yeah. How about you? How have you been? How's your week?
Oh man, I'm running on fumes.
I'm with you. I feel this really hard right now.
Delirious, man. Somewhat. You know, I'm running. On caffeine. Little known fact. Yeah, little bit of espresso right before the show has me ready to go. But it has been. This has been a bit of a week. You know, and it's just a lot of little things that have been piling up all over the place. But I've been managing it pretty well, all in all. I've conquered this week, and you know what? Next week is going to take care of itself. But you know, that's fine. Yeah, Mother's Day was the thing that happened.
What's the thing? It happened.
Yeah. So that was my folks are in town, and I went to go visit them up with my grandmother, who is 99 years old.
Wow.
Living by herself. She's man, I hope I got some of those genes. Let me just say. she's doing really well.
Okay.
And yeah, that was what I did today. And then we come home, and we had a graduation thing to run to. And then I was like, I'm just so beat. I wanted to take a nap, but then Turbo, my dog, named after the dog featured in all of the Quintet games, Turbo is insatiable for fetch, and I'm just trying to take a nap, and he's trying to make fetch happen, and I'm like, stop trying to make fetch happen, okay?
It's not happening.
Exactly, Turbo. It is. We're done playing fetch. I'm like falling asleep watching Linus build a computer in first person. I'm like one bloodshot. Yeah, I got one bloodshot eye open, and I'm just like trying to fall asleep, and then he drops the ball. I'm like, no, leave me alone.
No, I feel that really hard. Yeah. Boy, that sounds remarkably similar to my night last night.
But you know what makes it all worthwhile? All of this is reading some of the comments that we got from last week. Last week, you guys went a little nuts in the comments section. I don't know what got into y'all, but hey, I appreciate it. Including this one here from Christopher Naeus. I hope I said that right. Chris. Anyway, they said here, let me give this the proper intonation that I think it requires.
I was a loyal content subscriber before your deep dive into Square-Enix's financial situation. But after that, I'm a lifelong fan. Being a professional in the finance and accounting world, bravo on the explanation for and not misleading your viewers by parroting gaming journalists.
Journalists.
There, absolute Chad there, Christopher. Thank you so much for that awesome comment.
Thank you
That-
so much for
that helps a lot.
watching.
Yeah, very much
and
appreciated.
validating that we're doing something good.
I'm doing what we
Alright.
can.
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments here that I have grouped together just because you guys had so many good things to say. It was really hard. So I gathered a couple that had a similar theme, and I did want to just bring this topic up a little bit, and then I promise that we're not gonna talk about Square-Enix for like the next 3 show, right? But this doesn't count. This is just a reaction for the comments that you guys are putting in. So I'll read a couple, and there are many more in the comment section. I would highly recommend you guys going back to the previous show and reading some of those comments. But here it goes. Indexico 1897 says, as a player, I have very little interest in Square Enix big budget output these days, even Final Fantasy. The recent smaller releases have been stellar, but if they truly plan to move away from these and focus on AAA, I don't see myself buying anything from them. Thank you for that comment. Off Grid Gaming says, I enjoy Dialfield Chronicles a lot. Square should worry less about graphics and go back to turn-based or strategy RPGs, I think. Thank you so much for that comment.
Siamese giant.
Siamese giant. Okay, there we go. Sorry, it took me a second. Says the last few years has been wild for Square Enix, and almost all the games have been good to great. And they list out a lot of the games like Rebirth, Triangle Strategy, Tactics Ogre, etc. Feel free to read their full comment. The problem is next to no marketing for 90% of these, expensive flops like Forspoken, Babylon Fail, and Foam Stars are too high expectations for the big games that they were actually good. Thank you so much for that comment. Votan Steve says, well, making great video games definitely not their issue. Octopath 2, FF... I think
That's
F16,
16.
DQ Dark Prince, Star Ocean 2, etc. All came in the last year. I wonder how many of you guys actually played. Again, thank you so much for those comments. And there were many more of these comments as it relates to Square Enix. But just to summarize, the general viewpoint and the reason why we were concerned is that, again, Square Enix had announced that they want to move into the AAA game space, focusing in on that and, sort of removing all these other, smaller titles. Now, to what extent do they mean by smaller titles? Is it double A? Is it Octopath is on the chopping board? We don't know, right? It's just based off of one comment, right? Now, it's enough of a comment to cause some concern because it is an official comment from the president nonetheless. To what extent, we don't know now. That's the context. And you have to remember this context as we're talking about all of these, because that was the whole thing that brought up all this conversation. And if you're reading through the comments, a lot of the people are like, for example, in Dexico, well, I have little interest in Square Enix big budget. I like the smaller releases. Off-Grid said, I like Dial Chronicles a lot. So Siamese Giant says, they had a lot of good games, Triangle Strategy, Tactics Ogre, Voice of Cards, Paranormal Sight, etc., Harvestella, you name it, right? Live Alive, okay. And then Photon Steve says, well, they had a lot of good games, right?
And
all
it's
those
absolutely
things
true.
are
They did.
very valid. And in fact, we've said many times that those games are great. Two problem comes from this, right? Number one, again, all these, well, not all of them, but a lot of these games that you guys are naming are exactly the kind of game that they were saying that they may not, continue to make. that caused for concern. So yes, thank you for validating, our concern was all these games that you're like, hey, they made a bunch of great games recently. You named them. I was like, yeah, we know. And the concern is that they're saying that they're trying to move away from that, right? So that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is there's a lot of inconsistency, right? For all the games that we're listing that are like great, there's a bunch of mobile games that may or may not have even made it to the States that are all just like dropped, right? And then and a bunch of these games I feel like is a swing and a miss. I was having a little bit of a discourse for folks in the comment section, and I'm like, yeah, well, I played, I played Star Ocean 6, and I can tell you exactly when they ran out of budget. And I think someone said, well, they had a budget problem. I'm like, yeah, I know. And as a consumer, that's not my problem. Like I don't want to sound cold, but it's like saying, you bought a bad hamburger from McDonald's, we go back to them and be like, hey, how come this burger suck? And then they're like, yeah, sorry, we had a budget problem. They, what? Yeah,
Ran out of heat.
how much do you care? You don't, right? Because you pay good money for that and they told you it was going to be good. It's not. So I get that is the problem, but that shouldn't be an excuse for them to release a product that's not ready or to go under budget or to go over scope. I'm a PM in real life. I totally understand like what happens when you try to create a product or create some kind of project. This is a very common thing, but either ways, you either cut the scope, you either make it a smaller game because you were over ambitious, or you add more money or extend the time so that you can actually come up with the product that you intend to do. It's one or the other, but they did neither, right? And they still charge you the full amount for the game. So you expect that game to be worth that full amount that you paid against all alternatives that you could have spent with that same money. So whether or not they're out of budget, that's the reason, but that's not an excuse. Does that make sense?
I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are picking up what you're putting down. Yeah, it's just like you said, it's also a consistency thing for every incredible game that they put out. And they did. They put out some really good ones. They also had some sizable trouble in certain games. So it's kind of about, if half of your things are just like part of it is like you don't want to be afraid to fail. Like you don't want to be able to stop producing projects. At the end of the day,
it's
like,
not easy.
It's such a tricky thing because it just, I don't know. I don't even know where to go from there. And I don't think we have to.
Yeah.
I think we probably belabored the point.
Yeah, we do want to be fair. It's like we're not saying this is an easy task, right?
Yeah.
Like, to really hit home run all the time. But as you'll hear later on in the industry news section, a couple of companies managed to hit home run quite often, and maybe Square-Enix can learn a thing from their colleagues, if you will, right? So but yeah, let's move on from that.
All right. So next up, we're going to talk about a couple of comments that I got regarding let's call it a up that I did at the beginning of the last show. So this one came from Big Mummy. I don't know how.
Taste.
Big umami taste. There we go.
Big umami taste.
I finally. Sometimes reading these are like sussing out like what's this license plate on the back of this person's car mean. I got it. It says, "Wow, I sincerely didn't know Derek swore. I guess the rebrand made him a bad boy type now." So that's in reference to a surprise intro that a lot of people got. It was a surprise to me at the beginning of our last episode, which resulted in us going live a hair before I suspected that we would, which caught the tail end of a A and B conversation between Baku and I. So yeah, that was fun, but. Just one more reason for y'all to get here early, so you can get the HitPoint after dark or before dawn. I don't know what you would call that. The pre-show.
Behind the scene, I speak quite a bit of French, and If you want to hear me speak French nonstop, come by my Twitch. That's when I am open to speaking a different language that I am restraining myself from going into in this channel.
Yeah, well, I did actually provide a reply to that, and I did clarify. It's not that I never swear. In fact, I am also quite fluent in the language of the French.
Mhm.
Parlez-vous français? François? No, actually. But anyways, but I try not to in my written content, and in my streams sometimes I'll, if I do swear, I generally try to censor it out, with a little bleeper here, which is kind of nice. But yeah, I just find that whenever I'm trying to describe to somebody why something is like really good or worthwhile or really bad, relying on cursing as a crutch to like imply like, oh, this is how big bad this is. It's like, that's just a lazy thing to do. Use your words, explain what it is about the thing that is so bad. So if I have to cuss in my reviews, then I'm doing a bad job, or I'm just doing a job, if that's the case, right?
Well, is it still lazy if you go into details, but you still add the French in just for flair? Is that okay?
Well, I think
Can
it's
we-
I think it can be really funny. that's
I'm just that upset.
I don't know. Part of it's also brand friendliness. I don't necessarily.
true.
I do like the fact that I can like say, oh yeah, this is what I do in my spare time. To my actual IRL boss, and he
Mhm.
can like pull it up, and I'm not gonna have to worry about dropping F-bombs and stuff.
That's
And
true.
So there's a lot of things that kind of tie up into it, really. But
Mhm.
yeah, obviously, as with most people, I'm generally myself on camera whenever I can be, but it's also a very curated part of myself that you see.
Yes. That's exactly it. We know that some folks watch this show with their kids, especially, and I'm not here to start teaching them how to speak French either. That's up to the parents, right?
Mhm.
So just know that this channel, this show, it's pretty kid friendly. So don't feel
relatively.
like you need to be careful there.
And then we also got another one from a gal with another YouTube channel I checked out. You should check it out. They're called
Mhm.
Vix in Japan. And well, they left a comment here saying, I would advise some caution on this idea that Japan's labor force is still employed for a lifetime on the whole. That has been changing for a long time now, getting on for 30 plus years. A lot of people now worked on contract basis. So,
Mhm.
and that's also another thing that I goofed on, because that's just me operating on apparently 30 plus years old, information. I still have this, everything I learned from Japan, I learned from anime that came out in like the 90s, right?
Hey, it's a living and breathing country, man.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot can change in 30 years. I mean,
Yeah,
just look at
absolutely.
us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We used that pension.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
We
yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Once
we
upon a
did. We
time.
did.
And then they came for those pensions, and I did not speak out because I was not a
Yes.
pension. Anyways, check out
Anyhow.
Vix in Japan. They have a nice little cozy YouTube channel. Reminds me a little bit of Tecmone,
Oh,
but like based in Japan, talking about video game collecting.
oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And they seem like a really cool channel. So thank you for that comment. Check them out.
Thank you.
Also, I would at this point like to play a voicemail for you guys, except I don't
there's
have
a
one.
voicemail.
No, I don't. I
Oh.
would like to play one, but I don't have one. So if you guys at home enjoying listening to podcasts would like to call us up and drop some F-bombs on the you may do so. I'll censor them, but you can do it at 785-337-3805. You can leave us a voicemail and any other comments you'd like, or you could also send us an email at hitpoint@superderekrpgs.com, and we'll play it there too. So thank you, and let's talk about some new games that got announced. Starting with, gosh, I feel like I'm talking a whole lot right now. Designated Demigod. Yeah, this is a game I talked about very briefly in the JRPG Weekly Update. It's from publisher Armor Games Studios and developer AN Productions. They've announced a new turn-based RPG called Designated Demigods. The developer really wants to create a game that allows you to, or players to create like awesome looking combos and play as a character that's and play the character and the accompanying puppeteer, which is interesting.
Pupper.
Oh, but not puppet. Oh, pupper. Oh,
A pupper, yes.
A doggo. A doggo. Okay. I don't know
That's
why
my
in my
fault.
mind, I feel like in my mind, I wanted to say puppeteer and it turned it into a tongue twister. And that is my bad.
A pupper, the doggo. I
Yeah,
should have
so-
wrote doggo. Just
Yep. So yeah,
I was trying to
Designated
be
Demigod
cute.
has a doggo. No, I get it. So let's take a look at the trailer. I know we said that we're gonna have a less focus on trailer, and that's true, but I do want to take a look at a few of these real quick.
yeah.
All right. Button. Here it is. So this is sort of a game that looks a lot like, oh, what's it called? Kind of like Paper Mario or Bug Fable, you know? Kind of has some of that style of the 3D environment or polygonal environment with some platforming. So it's kind of got some of that. Yeah, I was thinking Paper Mario.
Little Valkyrie profile, like map, like like you have to do a little bit of platforming in the RPG. Except there's also that 3-dimensional element too. So
Yeah.
like you can walk in. It's not perfectly flat. It's
Yeah.
really cool looking. I like the cartoon, so the aesthetics. I really like it. The art looks really good.
Yeah.
And if this is kind of like focused on doing combos, like you can pause at a certain like time to like select an option, probably, and do a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's like a. Yeah, I think the whole point is just doing all these like chaining up like cool combos and figuring out how to do that. That looks really cool. I'm really excited to see what they put together.
Oh, there we go. Had to push the button there. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it looks really awesome. I'm very interested in it, but it doesn't have a release date yet. So keep an eye on it. We'll tell you more about it as it comes out, or if not here, then on JRPG Weekly Update. It's coming out. It's being developed for PC via Steam. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was telling Derek, like, hey, listen, we should probably focus like maybe like 3 games or so that we're really excited about. And then today I just broke the rule already. I'm like, hey, listen, don't kill me, but there are 5 games actually that we need to look into. So we're gonna go through another 4, and I hope you guys wouldn't be disappointed because I looked at these and I'm like, I have to only pick 3 out of these. I don't know if I can do that because they all look really cool and I want to show it off. So we got another one called Dungeons of Hinterberg, which we've talked about. This cell shaded
She shows
action RPG
by the shell shading.
from last year when they did like the Xbox showcase. Remember that, Derek? It was like around June time. Well, now we have a release date and a trailer as a refresher. So let's take a look at that really quick.
Alrighty.
You remember this game at all?
I'll tell you in
I
a
forgot
second.
if it's I think it's an Austrian developer with this one, which is actually kind of notable that this is an Xbox console exclusive, but also available on Steam. As far as like console is concerned, it's Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. This does look really familiar.
They look really cool. I like the
Kinda
the
comic book
modern
aesthetic.
kind of what's the word?
It kind
setting.
of looks, yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds
Yeah,
me
the
of
Alpine, but also
what's
it's got
that?
these like magic, a slight magic technology kind of thing in there.
It looks kind of rotoscoped in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, like if somebody had drawn onto an existing image of something. I really like that look. Kind of like Scanner Darkly was rotoscoped, but this is like a lot more fine detail than that old movie.
Yeah, this game looks super neat, and the
Yeah.
reason why we want to talk about it again is because this game has a slated release date of July 18th, so in about 2 months or so, which is pretty cool. And it's going to be released on Xbox Series and Steam. The developer Microbird has actually opened the game up for official playtests on Steam.
Oh, nice.
So, what's different, of course, is that demos are just kind of there, but a play test you have to apply and they'll accept you. If accepted, you can actually play this game from May 9th until May 16th. So you have got a couple more days. So if this looks like something you want to try out, I mean, go to Steam, apply, see if they accept it. And if they do, you can try it for a day or two, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if you guys clicked on the thumbnail because you thought the art was cool, well, this next game is going to be the one you're going to be interested in. It's called Keylocker. It is a rhythm game JRPG hybrid from the developer of Virgo versus the Zodiac. They're called Munana. And it is Munana. Has just been given a release window. This game will follow Bobo, a talented singer / songwriter who is on a mission to dismantle the tyrannical regime that has silenced all sound in a dystopian metropolis called Saturn through the power of music.
Music.
Yeah, and the key
like
art
the setting already.
I know the key art for this, by the way, was just so stunning that like there was other things that was like more popular. Like we're gonna talk about another bigger title here pretty soon. But I'm like, I saw that key art and I'm like, this has to be seen.
Yes.
All right.
You see why I couldn't pick just 3? I'm like, okay, I know we talked about this, but
Yeah.
you know, like
So, pixel art, not super surprised by that. It's a, this is, like I said, from the people who made Virgo versus the Zodiac, which was also, Serenity Forge made that one. Or they're publishing.
Banana. That looks so good. I love the art.
Ooh,
That's Bobo.
I hope we don't get copy striked for the music.
I hope
because that's
not.
beautiful.
Let's keep talking over them.
Yeah. I'll just turn that down a smidge.
What music? What are you talking about? What?
But yeah, like the character portraits look incredible. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
And I'm really loving the Outrun aesthetic. I don't know if you guys can hear it in the background, but there's definitely some like vaporwave that's really nice.
Yeah.
So it's got a rhythm-based combat, kind of like Guitar Hero.
I see the rhythm game element there just now. Is that a jukebox? It's a jukebot. Okay, I
Jukebot.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Jukebot.
That's the name of the robot that I built for Jukebox Hero Night way back in the day.
Well, it survived until this era, and it has evolved into a full robot.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah,
Man.
that looks really cool. I'm all for these are the kind of games that I want to see more of. Like
I
not
was
just same old.
I believe I was actually involved in a podcast at one point where we pitch video game design ideas. It's been a long time. And I think I pitched a music-based video game as one of mine.
Yes, I remember that.
And this is
The music-based RPG, rhythm game / JRPG. They called it. That's their words. Turn-based too.
I love it. And that key art, I want to pause it on that if I can. That key art in the background there, like where it's like warped and a little bit, God, I can't even remember what it's called. It reminds me of something very 90s, but it's so punk. I love it. And by the way, on the left, the guy with the keytar there looks like Toriyama's old self, his self insert character that he made for like the Dragon Ball.
Nice.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Can't remember what it's called, but man, it is so sick. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that.
Yes.
And we don't have to wait all too long to see more of that. It is slated for the summer. It's coming to the Xbox Series consoles and PC. And it might get released on PS4 and 5 and Switch at a later point.
That's
So,
correct. Yeah.
yeah, Serenity Forge.
Yeah. So what happened was they had like a Kickstarter some time ago. They hit the stretch goal to release on those platforms. So we're pretty sure that they will, but for this summer 2024 day is only for Xbox Series and PC confirmed. We're pretty sure PS4, 5, Switch are coming. Just we don't know when. So
Yeah, I
that's
dig
all.
that one though. That
Mhm.
I'm glad you picked that because yeah, because that's got me.
These
That's
are
got me.
these are really
invested.
cool games, and that's why I was struggling for a bit. Let me tell you, I'm like, no, we want to get away from it, but it looks really cool. So hopefully you all are feeling the same way, and that this is actually not a waste of your time to look at this game. Just like this next coming game that we're going to talk about from Kaizen Gameworks, the developer of Paradise Killer, which is actually on discount right now for like $5.99. Very tempting. It's just announced a new title that they're working on called Promise Mascot Agency. Promise Mascot Agency.
Interesting.
They're calling this the open world mascot management crime drama game.
What?
You heard me.
Okay.
Open world mascot management crime drama is what they are calling this. Now, this title would be developed in collaboration with Unseen, which, if you remember, Unseen is actually a new studio that Ikumi Nakamura started after her departure from Tango Gameworks. So it's pretty cool to see them take on this project and do like the more artistic direction for the game. We do have a trailer, so we can take a look at what that is. I love it. It's delightfully janky.
This
Let's
sounds
go
this
it
sounds
that way.
ridiculous already.
Yeah,
but
it is ridiculous and delightfully janky, and I love it. Creators of Paradise Killer. In
So-
collaboration, Ikumi Nakamura.
This appears to take place in Japan, which they have a very interesting relationship with mascots.
It's like Yakuza Legend.
What is that?
Don't ask questions. Just accept it. just accept it. Exiled in secret
I have so many
to
questions.
run a mascot agency
What?
alone. Question
That's
mark.
Teddy. No, wait, no, that's not Teddy. It's Pinky. What is that one flipping us off?
Yeah.
Oh my
it,
gosh.
It absolutely is.
Oh wait, was it? It was sending us its
misfit
pinkies.
mascots.
It was showing us its pinkies. Oh no. Oh no. What?
There's some cards in play there. How does this game work? I want to know how this game works. Explore myself. Oh no.
No. What the?
Nope. Don't ask. Just accept it. This is one of
What?
those games where you don't ask questions. You just accept the absurdity and you embrace it. Indie titles, everybody. Just this is the kind
This
of
is-
stuff I like to see. This
I
is the
almost
kind of
titled.
weird.
I almost titled the stream today. Indies are the future, or the future is indie. But on second thought, I missed a beat. We totally could have just made this episode nothing of but indies. But dude,
Yeah.
what? What?
Did you like that one, though?
Mm,
Did you like that, though?
it's certainly not one that I would have covered on JRPG
Mhm.
Weekly Update. So
Yeah.
it is.
I wouldn't call this a JRPG, but it's
Certainly
such a
not.
cool looking game.
It's practically a new Yakuza game.
Yeah, I mean, it does involve a legendary Yakuza
And
as the
business
main
management, I
character.
think.
Yeah, it's a mascot management crime drama.
Yeah, I mean, and Ichigo Kurasaki. No, what was his name? Ichigo Kazuga. Thank
Kazuga
you.
Ichiban.
Ichiban,
Yeah,
not Kazuga. Yes. Okay.
Ichigo
Yeah.
is Bleach.
You're right.
It's okay. I've gotten their names mixed up all the time. So.
Ichiban like the beer. He is sort of a mascot for his own business in the Yakuza
Yes,
games.
the
The whole side business that
Yeah.
totally distracts. So yeah, it's kind of just like that. It's more Yakuza.
I can't wait to you play Infinite Wealth though. Oh man. Oh man. I cannot wait until you play Infinite Wealth.
I'm looking
so good.
forward to getting there. I feel like I've got a
Mhm.
lot on my plate. Especially with Lufia 2. I've been playing Lufia 2. We just got to the ancient cave, which
Mhm.
just suddenly is like, by the way, I'm a mystery dungeon all of a sudden. Did you know that? They have a mystery dungeon built into Lufia 2. It's just
Mhm.
yep. And now that's what I'm sucked into, and I'm making zero progress because it's a roguelike.
Part of me likes games from that era because they would throw like you a wrench like that, and it's so well made that you can't even get mad at them because it's not like they just slapped it all together in like last second, but it's so out of nowhere. You're like, what? Why? But okay, I'll do it. Yeah, Tactics Ogre had the same thing. You play through the game and then there is this like super huge dungeon that's like 100 floor, and you're just like, what is this? Um, and it just repeats itself. And then there are all these like extra cool things and jobs and stuff in there, but it's completely optional. And I'm like you added all these things to this one little like labyrinth thing. Like what? Like who thought that was a good idea? But it was fun. It sunk a lot of time in that thing. So yeah. Okay. The last game that we want to talk about today, from Nisa for You and Natsume Atari, they just announced the Western release date for their newest title, Reynatis. And I think that's how it's pronounced. I just based it off of the Japanese pronunciation.
Oh,
Yeah,
could
I
you
think
say that
it's
again?
I
Because
think
that
it's
was
Reynatis. Yeah.
because I was definitely confused about how that would
Yeah,
be.
I'm like, it's a strange name. They explain how the name came about in the interview, which, by the way, when this game was first announced and we talked about it some time ago, I had on record said that this feels very much like a Chuni game, like a Chunibyo kind of game. And
Yes. Oh, I know.
do you remember that?
Flashbacks.
I was like, yo, this game is so Chuni. Like, what's going on? Like,
Yep.
yeah.
Flashbacks to that episode. Yep.
As it turns out, Chunibyo is one of the core elements in writing the scenario for the game, and I have reference to back that up. They had an interview with the creators of the game over at Nisa. Actually, it's on the Nisa website, and if you guys want it, I can link it to you, where they talk about Chunibyo as like a core element in the game. I was like, yes, I knew it. I recognized it immediately. I'm like, this is so Chuny. What's going on?
Yeah.
There you go. I feel validated. So back to the game though. This game will feature 6 playable characters with 2 competing protagonists who represent freedom and order respectively. Now, before we watch this new trailer that dropped like 3 days ago, I do want to give some context as to what we're about to watch so that things will make sense. Okay. So back in April Fool's Day this year, so like about a month ago, we added some like Reynatis and The World Ends With You Neo April Fool's art on their website. And it kind of makes sense because The World Ends With You Neo takes place in Shibuya in modern time. This new game, Reynatis, also takes place in Shibuya in modern times. So with like some supernatural element, it kind of makes sense like to have like a crossover. But that was April Fool's, right? Well, as it turns out, the collaboration is real, and we'll see that in this trailer.
Wasn't there also? Okay, yeah. Let's watch the trailer, and then I'll come
Yeah.
back. I'll come back around to this.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There we go.
Oh, the war ends if you fans rejoice. It lives on kind of in a different game. It's cool. You see some like the world ends with you enemies.
Some influences there, sure.
Yeah. This girl here, she's from the world ends with you Neo.
Oh God.
Yeah. Shoka.
Mm-hmm. I only ever played a little bit of the original TWEWY, but
This
yeah.
should be a 104. Yeah, the main character from the main character from The War Ends with Neo, like in that last screenshot just now, not screenshot, the last scene just now that was shooting just like his lower half, probably hinting that he'll also be in the game.
Dude, this game's given me flashbacks to like, I want to go like make a MySpace page. You know, like I'm feeling like the early 2000s they're so back.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So just a reference to what like this whole Chuny thing situation, and then they gave like an explanation in the interview. They went out of the way to explain to the readers, because the people who reading it are like Western audience and they have no idea what Chunibyo is. So the interview actually has this like little section where they explain like this is what Chunibyo means. So I thought it was really cool. Happy to link that discussion in a little bit, but let me just talk through this real quick. What's notable actually in this interview is that Kazushige Nojima, who's responsible for writing the scenario for Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, and Final Fantasy X, is the scenario writer for this game, which is pretty cool.
Okay,
and
that's
Yoko
really exciting. Actually,
Shimomura, if you know that name, famous for basically all the Kingdom Hearts music.
Sure. And Super Mario RPG, Breath of Fire 1. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
prolific.
she's composing for this game. So, yeah, some pretty notable powerhouse here from the Final Fantasy world. Not surprising that Square-Enix is actually doing a collab for this. Again, I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, if you guys are a fan of their work, I mean, that's got me a little bit more excited because I love like Yoko Shimomura's work. I just happen to not particularly like the game she's in. I mean, it's not to her fault because I love her music, but I'm just like, oh, why are you always in games that I don't terribly enjoy, like Kingdom Hearts? I'm hoping to like Life Alive. I haven't played that.
Life Alive is fantastic. I think you'll really enjoy that.
I absolutely love Shimomura's composition. She's a freaking genius, and she's only overshadowed by Nobuo all the time. Not to say Nobuo is bad, but like I feel like she is like on that same level.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh yeah, right up there with.
So
it's right up there with
right
Uematsu,
up there with the best of the best. Like absolutely love her work. So this
definitely.
game is slated to be released also in July, this time July 25th, near my birthday, and on PS4, 5, Switch, and PC via Steam. So all kinds of ways to play this.
Heck yeah.
Okay,
that is all of the new games that were announced that we care to talk about anyway. So let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit to talking about some industry news, because there's been...
This is the fun part where we sit down and talk for a minute.
Yeah. Guys, I talked about this already very, very briefly during JRPG Weekly Update. But man, I think the angle we're going to focus on here mainly has to do with the closure of Tango Gameworks. So... long story short, just to kind of just to lead us into this, is that a lot of people are very, very angry that the creators of some really incredible games over the last few years through Xbox, who were acquired as part of like the Bethesda deal, they were let go out of seemingly nowhere, out of like the opposite of like anywhere is what it feels like. It feels like in a really unexpected move for somebody who just put out like I know that their sleeper hit was this shadow drop of a game, and it
Mhm.
was called like Shadow Dropped because there was no marketing about it.
Yeah.
And it was out. Hi-Fi Rush. It was just like it was gone. There wasn't anything, and then there was Hi-Fi Rush, and it broke the internet for like a week or two,
Mm-hmm.
and it was great. I never personally played it, but I saw a lot of it, and I thought it was pretty cool. But it wasn't on any consoles that I was into playing at the time. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll play it some other time. So yeah, but I think you played one of the games that they put out.
Did
Did
I?
you?
Oh, I did. I did. Yes, yes, yes. I was like, I had to think for a second.
Yeah,
It was Tokyo
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo, yeah.
Yeah,
Ghostwire Tokyo, yeah. It was a beautifully created game. I thought that there's some things that I wish they had done differently to make it
Yeah.
a even better game, but overall it's a very quality game. You can tell that there's a lot of love that gone into crafting that world. You can feel it. So that's the kind of thing that I respect. Gameplay was a little repetitive, but that's about the only thing. The story was okay. But I recommend anyone who likes the Skyrim experience, like if you like that 3D first person kind of battle, Ghostwire Tokyo, it's really cool. You get to kind of walk around Shibuya,
hmm
and I- it's almost like 1-to-1 with the streets and everything. It's crazy accurate. It's probably the most accurate depiction of Shibuya, minus all the kind of post-apocalyptic debris, like if you will. Like there's an event, no spoilers, but
Shibuya on a bad
aside
day.
from that, yeah, just the buildings, the placement where they are, just almost 1-for-1. I'm like, how much time did you take to map out the entire city
Yeah.
so that you can do this so darn accurately? Like what? It's a lot of labor love. But okay, so they closed down Tango, and I do want to mention to folks who are in the show right now that look, listen, we know that no, not Square, I was say Square-Enix.
Nope, we're not talking about
Xbox had
them.
closed down a couple of studios, but we're specifically talking about Tango because one, we're not too familiar with the other studios. Not to minimize the loss of not having them anymore. Or
I
we
played a
think
little
it
bit of
stinks.
I played a
Yeah,
little bit of Dishonored back in the day when it first came out. Thought it was pretty
yeah.
good, but
We think it stings all the same. We're only using Tango as kind of like the focus studio because we're just a little bit more familiar with them and their operation.
sure.
As
They're
far
also
as like, the things they create.
they're also the Japanese studio, the only Japanese studio that Microsoft owned. Uh and now they have
Well,
closed.
yeah. So back to this. So I don't think that many had turned on the day that these studio closed. I mean, studios closed all the time. Like I think they would have been able to just kind of bury this in like the mountain of news had
Maybe.
Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studios, didn't say this like the very next day, which he said, in quote, "We need smaller games that give us prestige and awards." The very next day,
hmm
the day after they closed out these studios, it's the most tone deaf, like, what are you talking about thing? Like, who told you this was a good idea kind of thing? It's like huge PR messed up.
hmm
So we do want to show you a tweet from a now former project manager at Tango Gameworks, Katsuaki Egashira, who fired back with just 2 pictures, and it's actually on the watch together. You wanted to show the people, yeah.
Oh, I'm showing it on my screen right
got
now.
it. Sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't see that. Yeah, who and with just 2 devastating words in English, which is not even this person's first language. Not enough.
Yeah.
Just what? Not enough awards for you? Not enough
Not enough
accolades,
prestige.
not good enough, not enough. Oh God, it's just oh my God, just
It
I
hurts.
mean,
I
the
hurt on their
burn
behalf.
is not going to
you
get them
know?
their jobs back, but yikes, you can't argue that that is not like the worst burn you've seen in a long time. 2 words. 2 words.
Yeah.
That's it. Not enough.
Mm.
So, and because of all this, I think it was really because Matt really had said something. Had they not said that, they could have probably there would be some
People would have
bad
been
press,
mad.
but they could have like brushed that under.
Yeah.
Right.
People would have been mad for sure because Hi-Fi Rush and Tango for a brief moment last year was the internet's darling.
Oh yeah.
Upon its release.
Mhm.
And they were apparently in the works of making a follow-up to Hi-Fi Rush, and
Mhm.
God, it's
I do want to take this opportunity to also fire a rebuttal for all the folks who are like, oh, some games they just didn't do good because they had no marketing. Well, there's Hi-Fi Rush. Had
Yeah.
zero marketing. It just kind of dropped, and people were like, what is this? And they played it, and it was a good game that stood on its own merit, and people talked about it, and just word of mouth, and everyone's like, what the heck? Where the heck did this come
I
from?
object. I
Yeah.
do object in one small way here, and that is
Yes.
that I feel like that is the exception to the rule.
Yes.
Most games, there are some incredible games. Indies are, and so often the case, incredible games that do incredible things, but because they cannot market, they do not sell the numbers that a AAA game could.
Mhm.
Despite the fact that some of them are better and
Oh, no,
sometimes a lot
absolutely.
better. So I mean, marketing
yeah.
has such a big impact on sales.
Well,
so
okay. I kind of
Yeah.
want to respond to that. And the difference here is that indie games, not only do they have to market their game, they have to market their company.
yeah,
So it's like double the trouble.
that's true.
The games that I'm thinking about that people were talking about are from a major studio that needs no introduction. It's just the game.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of similar to this situation where
Yeah,
you
have
got
some
the Tango
brand loyalty
Gameworks, you have the
already.
Xbox, you already have the name that's sold. It's just that the game itself didn't get marketing. So that's the distinction. But I also feel like you're right. Like this is kind of exception. However, it also does invalidate some of the points that folks are making. It's like, yeah,
Absolutely.
there wasn't enough marketing. It's like, no, the game could also just not be that good.
Yeah.
It could be both. But anyways, so to back to the whole Tango game thing. So so as if that wasn't bad enough, as if all this hasn't been bad enough press. The Xbox president Sarah Bond later got interviewed to really ask them like, so what's going on? Because I feel like at that point the press are really
Oh my
digging up like all the things like you were saying, like Insider says they were actually trying to pitch a sequel and they had no idea they were being shut down. Like there's a lot of things
Oh
that
God, they brought like a big old anniversary cake to
yeah.
Xbox did like the month prior. Like,
yes. It just feels very scummy.
It feels weird.
It feels like they just send them an email and be like, hey, pack your stuff. Your office is gone. Goodbye. Like there
Okay.
was not like a discussion. How can we move forward? There's no working on things. It's just like, yeah, see you later. Closing down.
Yeah. So anyways,
And
I pulled up this little segment of the interview with Sarah
Sarah?
Bond. Yeah.
Okay.
That I wanted to play, and I don't think it's gonna play on your computer, but
oh no, it's fine.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go ahead and play a little bit of this here for y'all, because this is pretty wild.
I think one of the things that was most upsetting both to Xbox gamers
Oh, it does
and
play
to
for me.
employees is that
Yeah.
one of the shuttered studios in particular just created a hit game, did really well on GamePass in terms of engagement, and won a ton of awards. Shouldn't succeeding in that way ensure the future of a studio?
Now, just keep in mind
one
when
of
you
the
listen to
things
this.
I really love about the games
Does she
industry
look like
is
she
it's a
knows what
creative
she's
art
talking
form.
about?
No.
And it means that the situation and what success is for each game and studio is also really unique. Like, there's no one size fits all to it for us.
Oh my god. This
And
corporate
so
speak is
we look at
maddening.
each studio, each game team, and we look at a whole variety of factors when we're faced with sort of making decisions.
And that graph in the background of
like
the
that.
year-over-year growth.
But it all comes back to our long-term commitment to the games we create, the devices we build, the services, and ensuring that we're setting ourselves up to be able to deliver on those promises.
So
Okay, can I just comment really quick on
please
this?
do. Please do.
So for all the people who are watching right now, right? Corporate speak. You know how we know is corporate speak from like a president or whatever, is that whatever she just said could have applied at any given time and would have still just been true anyway.
Yes.
Like it's not like
It's not a
I'm
response to
asking
the
you a question
question
about a situation,
posed.
you give me an answer. It's just general things that would be true no matter what context it is. Of
This is how
course, we want to
is-
pay attention to like the long-term commitment to the company. Yeah,
Sure.
That answers nothing. Like,
This
what?
is one of those questions that you respond to. So there's a pretty well-known piece of advice when it comes to being a politician or being in the public space and being publicly interviewed, and that is that you don't answer the question that the person asks. You answer the question that you wished that they had asked instead. And that is 100% what Sarah Bond did there.
Yeah.
Only Sarah did it really badly. Like it is. I'm not a politician. You might not know this about me, guys, but I ain't no senator's son. And I'm not in any actual form of like public light except for maybe this, which is not really anything. So I couldn't have done a better job. So my criticism is not from a point of, well, this is what she should have said or what she could have done, but rather she was asked a very honest question, and what we got was just
Not a very honest answer. Yeah.
I said in the JRPG Weekly Update, I would call this dodging the question, but dodge implies some amount of grace that was not present in that room.
Dodge implies you at least acknowledge the question coming at you.
you would have to
I think you
react
should-
in some way to dodge that question. Instead, she just blinked at some bright lights for a minute and then said something that
Some corporate speak.
and the
Healthy
reason I bring this
long-term,
up is
various variables, no synergy.
it feels so much like she doesn't even know why. And she looks like a deer in the headlights a little bit, panicky.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my interpretation. I'm no, body language expert or anything, but that's the impression that I get is like she is not comfortable being up there. These are not questions she wants to be answering right now. And
Not to pick on her, poor Sarah, president of Xbox, by the way. We would pick on any of these executives.
She only
give
has
us
her
another silly response, and we would shred them to pieces all the same.
she only has her, piles of money to comfort her at this point, and hopefully that helps.
Yeah, truly poor all the people who lost their jobs. Like that's the real take here is that at the end of the day, like a whole bunch of people lost their jobs, and quite frankly, I don't and
Through no
this-
fault of their
this is
own,
The thing that
as far
is
as we can
maddening
see.
is we don't think that the leadership truly understood what they even did or why they even did it.
Exactly.
That's the point.
So it's it just smacks of if I was Microsoft, it feels very much like we have all of these companies under us now that have cost us a lot of money. Now just keeping them open is also costing us money. We need to trim the fat by ending the ongoing commitment to spending money on the people.
Yeah.
while keeping the valuable assets that we acquired in the purchase.
Mhm.
Keep the value, drop the people, drop the expenses.
Mhm.
So despite so basically the some accountant somewhere, blame it on accounting. I don't know who does this sort of thing. Said
Probably the finance bros doing the projection.
somebody,
Yeah.
yep, somebody said, all right, here we have a modeling industry, but this nose that I have is just too much upkeep. So let's just cut it off. because it costs too much of my human resources to have this nose. You know, it's drawing away from my core energy funds, my digestive system is using. So let's just cut that nose off.
So I'm going to take a wild guess because I don't work for Microsoft. No, I do really have a good.
You don't work at
understanding of
Microsoft?
No, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately not.
I was
But
gonna say, if you did, I'd
yeah,
update your resume.
So I mean, the only thing I know about Microsoft is like Windows. Like I know their like software like side, but
Sure.
like Xbox, I don't know about Xbox. I've never even bought an Xbox. Have I even played on an Xbox before? I don't even know. But
Wow.
but I do know the business world a little bit, and I'm
Okay.
going to take a wild guess and say that this is probably what happened. Okay, leadership saw the annual numbers. They need to trim the fat, like Derek said. So they tasked their finance bros and be like, okay, where do you think ours is weakest based on the numbers? They report back. Here are based on our numbers. This is where we have issues. Okay, well, let's just cut these. Boom, done. Goodbye. Now back on my yacht.
Yeah.
Very just quick. But they don't drill down to like, okay, why were their numbers not great? Or it doesn't. They don't care. They don't care.
No.
They
To
don't.
Microsoft,
They don't have the time of their day to worry about these little things. These are the
I feel-
little things for the little people. We do big things, and then
Microsoft is big.
Yeah.
Xbox
Yeah.
is this,
we're
and
kind of up here. I'm the president of Xbox. I'm the
And
head
Tango-
of Xbox Studios.
and
okay?
and Tango
Yeah.
was the size of a hair in
Yeah.
that little Venn diagram, and
Insignificant.
and and the tech bro, the finance bro who was in charge didn't realize that they were poking a bee's nest because Tango was the internet's darling for a while last year, and
Yeah.
and 90% of the time they would have gotten away with it and nobody would have known any different and nobody would have cared, or they would have cared but then they would have moved on. But then just
Yeah.
this confluence of different things is piling up. So that's, I think, one of the really big things about Microsoft, or sorry, I keep saying Microsoft, but really what I mean is the
Xbox.
smaller
Oh.
Xbox is, the much smaller Xbox.
Mhm.
Them acquiring all of these studios, I hated it before and I super hate it now. Because this is something that we see play out because Microsoft is such a big company that owns the smaller Xbox company. I don't feel like we would see this happen as much if it was Sony, because Sony is they're a bigger company, but PlayStation is, I think, proportionally bigger.
Yes, it's true.
Than-
PlayStation is proportionally bigger. Sony as a company itself is
To
not
clarify,
bigger than Microsoft, not by a long
exactly.
shot.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like if Microsoft and Xbox, if Xbox and PlayStation, these two brands are, if assuming they are of equal size, proportionally, Microsoft is much bigger than Sony.
Yeah.
So therefore,
Mhm.
Xbox makes up a smaller portion of Microsoft
Mhm.
than PlayStation to Sony. That's what I mean
Yes.
proportionally.
Yes.
So I feel like that's less likely to occur with PlayStation, but
Mhm.
even then, I still just hate this idea of like corporations playing hungry hippos, acquiring all these people, and then not caring or having any idea who they're dealing with, really. Like it was probably so easy for
Mhm.
that finance guy to be like, oh, let's cut the Japanese company because all This one is not like all of the others, so therefore, it adds so much overhead because now we have to have this translation team. It's, they bring in, some money last year that was pretty cool, but they're just maintaining them is difficult. So we'll just maximize efficiencies that way. It's so easy to see that, and I just hate it.
Yeah, I do too. So Sarah there, Miss Bond had mentioned about healthy for the long term of Xbox. That was her justification, if you will, or it's just
That was her word
like
soup.
moment.
Yep.
She did utter those words.
It was
So okay, it was uttered. Let's talk about it. What is healthy for the long term for Xbox? I gave a little bit of thought. I'm sure Derek has as well. When Booty said we need smaller games that gives us
Booty.
prestige and awards, I think he was actually correct. Like that's what they do need. Now, why did the decision not match what they need is part of the
Obvious.
question, but I don't think he's wrong.
He's
think that they
absolutely
do need
right.
smaller games that are award-winning games. And the
The
reason
left-
I say that,
the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing.
right. And the reason I say that is because what is the main thing that has really kept Xbox in the conversation at all this entire time, and it's been praised by many people who owns the system, and that's the Game Pass.
I was gonna say Halo.
Well,
Long
that's that
term,
too, but-
it's been Halo. But
as a
short term,
strategic element, as a point of
Oh, man.
value that is distinct from their competitors.
Game Pass
the
is
Game Pass.
such a can of worms that
Mhm.
you're talking about here because I didn't know if we were going to go into this or not because I feel like it's poison to the studios.
Yeah.
When the person who determines if their head is on the chopping block or not is sales
Mhm.
and not conversions to Game Pass. Like
Yeah.
if you have Game Pass, if you are made to be on Game Pass,
Mhm.
you effectively will have zero sales.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's just it. You then cannot back up and say, hey, look, this is how many people bought the game. Because the bean counter is going to say, how many beans did you sell? And you have to
Right.
say none because it was on Game Pass. And they'll say, well, that sounds like an expense to me.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if they were smart about it,
It's-
it's talking about Xbox, they would count like hours played. But obviously they're trying to negotiate against these studios, which
that's
is
not the kind of
insane.
beans that these
Yeah.
accountants deal with. They don't care about hours. They look at numbers.
dollars. Yeah.
Dollar signs. And it's so Game Pass and anything like it. Honestly, if PlayStation Plus, they came up with that as like a thing to compete with Game Pass. Maybe Sony's going to handle things differently.
Mhm.
But I mean, at the end of the day, bean counter going to count beans, man.
There's a discipline in this, by the way. Like, there's an actual discipline in this. It's called managerial accounting, and which is not the same as financial accounting. Like
Yeah.
financial accounting is like your outstanding stock, your income year to year, blah blah blah. All the financial statement. Those are financial accounting. Managerial accounting is about like looking at the metrics that make sense and then try to help you drive a decision. So to your point, should I look at how many games you sold? Is that the correct metrics, or should it be a combination of stuff? Should it be like something called like activity based costs, right? Activity based costs would be like how many people actually play your game, how much of that costs as far as like the service is concerned, and how much revenue that service, which is in this case the Game Pass, ties into, right? So that you can make a justification for it, right? Or not. So there is a thing, but whether or not they do that, that's questionable because it's not
Exactly.
reported. These are all internal. They could do whatever they want with the math. But yeah,
So
but
it's like
there's a
it-
thing for that. Yeah.
So Xbox is trying to play chess, but the bean counters are playing checkers.
Absolutely.
That's where I'm
Um,
coming from. That's what it feels like to me. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think
God.
it's a strategy for Xbox, like as a competing, platform against Sony and Nintendo, like console war, if you will. Like this is a very bad move for Xbox because one of the redeeming factor for Game Pass is that you can play all these cool breakout
Hypothetically.
hits
Mhm.
without paying for it, and you can find out, right? Because I already paid for Game Pass. I just go in and log and play. If it's bad, it's bad, but I have my Game
Yeah.
Pass. They're already losing in the like exclusivity battle, right?
Mhm.
So what else is there for your like sort of crown jewel of the Xbox that's not Halo?
And I
Right.
understand the appeal as a developer of being like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, Game Pass. This is the sort of thing where I don't have to be afraid if my game bombs. I can be
Mm-hmm.
creative because I'm part of the Borg
Oh
essentially.
yeah.
And the the good of the whole will
Mhm.
support us all, and we can make better games and be unfettered from the chains of that could have been a solution.
Mm-hmm. You
Maybe,
know what's
but not in
crazy though
practice.
too, Derek, is that one thing we dug through like old this is an interview from some time ago, and boy, it did not age well. Okay, so there was an interview some time ago when Tango that was acquired through Bethesda to Xbox.
Yeah.
And then they released Hi-Fi Rush, okay? And then at that time, the head of Tango Works did an interview and said, we're very grateful that we were acquired because now we have this like financial backing and we're able to take risk and create games like Hi-Fi Rush. And it's what they said. Okay, you can look that up. That's what they said.
Yeah.
And boy, did that not age well today. That was not that long ago that was said. And so, and here lies the issue, right? Like, let me draw it out like this. Okay, Xbox needs Game Pass. Game Pass, like Matt said, needs small games that gives them prestige and awards, and these small games typically come from these indie studios that they're trying to acquire. The sales pitch from Xbox to the small studio is if you join us, you can join the Game Pass. You get visibility. People will play your game, and we'll also give you financial backing, right? That's all good and fine.
Sounds like a sweet deal,
Yeah,
honestly.
and it played out more or less. It was fine until
Until
now.
now.
And this is why this is a big deal. Like now that we paint the entire picture, this is why it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because now small studios are going to be extremely reluctant to be acquired. I mean, it's not like they don't have a choice. They're not publicly traded. There's no like hostile takeover. If I don't sell, I don't sell. It's a private entity, right?
Exactly. Like
So,
if I'm
but
assuming I'm, a developer who
Mhm.
has some games and Microsoft approaches me and says, "Hey, would you like us to buy you?"
yeah,
What do I do?
yeah,
Do I say, "Yes, let us join and
Mhm.
and be merry?"
Yeah.
Or do I say, "Hold on.
yeah,
I got mouths to feed. I got friends who work with me.
yeah.
I have to look at my cohorts for
Mhm.
the at least the next year until you let them all go." So
Yeah.
like
Oh, what would that do to morale? Like instead of like kind of a badge of honor, like Xbox chose us. We're gonna have a bright future. No one's getting laid
and
off.
this
We're
is
gonna be
something.
financially stable.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that was the pitch. You see that there's a lot of betrayal to this, and it will not go unnoticed by smaller studios.
Oh god.
And for
If
anyone who's like,
Japan
okay, yeah, well, if Xbox has so much money, why can't they just create these small titles internally,
Oh
right?
gosh. And can you imagine the
Yeah.
ramifications that this has for like Japanese developers and their perspective of Western companies?
I mean, they already hate us, so I
That's
mean,
too
there's no.
brute.
I don't think there's changing that.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, but now they have a reason to.
well, they've had plenty of justification. They're just adding to the pile
I
of
know.
dead bodies in the back. Yeah, just it's so bad. This is way worse. This is not what I'm trying to say is
Now
this.
I'm never
This is
gonna get into a no gaijin only bar.
this is not just Xbox closing a couple studio, boohoo, let's move on to bigger news. No, this is gonna have lasting ramification now.
Yeah.
Because they're really stepping on their own toes, and they're killing their own core strategy for Xbox survival. I don't know what else Xbox has to offer at this point. Like, what do you have that other people don't do better than you? You
So
know?
at here's one of those things that they have is the fact that the people that they're buying these companies from like money.
Mhm.
Some founder's gonna get a payday if
Mhm.
they sell their studio
Yeah.
and their IPs, and that could then fund the creation of a brand new studio who, I don't know, if they didn't sign like an anti-compete or something, a no compete, um god, then yeah, I don't
Oh,
know, man.
did you know that non-compete clauses are ending?
Yeah, I did hear
Yeah,
about
so
that.
there's
That's
that. I don't know how in America anyways, for the people who don't live in the States.
well, that I was gonna
Um
say that only that only matters for everybody, all the Xbox studios that are now in in the United States.
yeah, but it's crazy, man. It's crazy. But okay, so some good news out of all this. We do want to touch on this before we move on. There's one
Yeah.
more thing. Hi-Fi Rush physical edition is still coming despite Tango shutdown, and that has been confirmed by Limited Run Games, and they haven't opened up details on pre-order just yet. I'm sure there's some legal thing that they're working through, and okay, what to whom do we credit this game, who are we paying, all kinds of things is happening in the background, I'm sure. But at least today they're still saying they're moving ahead with it. They're not canceling it, and if they will cancel it, they will let everyone know. But as of this moment in time, that is still happening, and I'm still waiting for it. I would love to own a physical copy of this, just to like almost like a middle finger to to Xbox for like making a terrible decision. And also it's a great game from all who's played it, so yeah, why not? I would love to own a physical edition.
That
And
money is
with
going to
that,
Microsoft.
just remember it's a limited run game, so
Yeah.
we'll keep you guys posted.
Seriously though, that
Yeah.
money from limited run games is definitely going to Microsoft when you buy the
Yeah.
physical edition, and that sucks.
Yeah. I still want that physical copy.
Yeah.
I mean, once they bought the studio, they bought the IP, that's it. Like anytime you buy the thing, it's gonna go to them. But
Yeah.
I want them to regret this decision. Seeing the money come in, they're like, ah, what did we do? Like, at least someone in my, maybe not Miss Sarah
They're
here,
not-
maybe not Matt, but
They
somebody.
they have moved on,
Yeah, they've
they
moved on. In their mega yacht, they're like, what are
exactly.
you talking about? They don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah. This is they don't even remember that this has happened because they don't care.
Tango who?
Yeah.
What is this rush you're talking about? No idea.
Corporations are not our friends, and
Yeah.
mega corporations are mega not our friends.
That is true. Well, speaking of corporations, yes, we are keeping our promise that we will not talk about Square Enix and make fun of the giant corporation that is Square Enix. But you know what we will talk about? Falcom.
Hey, those are my
Hey.
friends.
Yeah. So what's going on over in Falcom? Well, they've reported. So okay, a little background info here, right? Like March is the time when all these corporations do their numbers and financials. So a lot of things are coming out now, and for anyone who did not read their financial records, and I don't blame you because I hate reading these things too. Although Nintendo financial records are fun to read, but Falcom stated that sales in the North America, Europe, and Asia all exceeded their expectations,
Hey,
and operating profit is up 26%, which is not insignificant. That's almost a third. That's crazy.
that's wicked.
Yeah, so good job, Falcom.
Because they've had some really good years leading up to this, and to then improve further on that is, well, I was gonna say they might become a mega corporation at this rate, but I hope not.
No. Imagine building a following on a series and insist on releasing games when
Hey.
they are actually ready.
two series, okay?
Mhm.
Show some
Okay.
respect for East.
Well, hold on. They have Xanadu.
Show
That's
some
three.
respect to East. That's all I'm saying, man.
East is one of them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have two.
Oh no, I said series, like multiple series.
Series is
Yeah, they have many series. Yeah, not just one, multiple series.
Series,
But
okay.
imagine actually spending tender loving care, growing the community, and actually releasing only when they're ready. Imagine that. Just boy.
I think that it works really well for Falcom because they are at this point still honestly small, and they're, I think, being very intentional about keeping small, and keeping to their wheelhouse. They know what they are. They know who they make games for, and they have a very laser focus on those things, and they do them incredibly well. And they're not trying to go for like the big shotgun approach. I need all of the audiences to love all of my games. They're just like, this guy. I'm making the game for this guy,
Yeah.
and maybe that gal over there too. Those two.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, not for us, but those two. We're gonna nail them with this game. They're gonna be they're gonna have their socks knocked off,
No, I think you're
they
right.
kill it. They kill it every time.
No, I think you're right. But here's the thing. I feel like you can do that even as a major company as long as you keep that philosophy though, right?
Who could possibly do something like that?
Well, that
who could
brings us
possibly?
to our next company we will talk about today.
What?
What? Derek is reading the script, by the way. He knows exactly what's coming up.
Shh. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, don't
What?
yeah, hold on there. Well, hold on a second. Yeah, well, let's talk about Capcom, shall we? Imagine a mega company that has all these niche market and they know their customers. Net sales up 21% year over year. Not quite as good as 26%, but
That's a
pretty
fifth.
darn good.
That's good.
Operating income up 12.3% year over year. So as in like 2023, 2024.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2022, 2023. Street Fighter 6 and Dragon's Dogma 2 are two IPs that Capcom have stated were responsible for this accomplishment. This makes it the 7th consecutive year of record profits for Capcom and 11 straight years of income growth. How do you explain this, sir?
Well, I think it's honestly, it's more of the same. It's just like they have a bunch of different Falcoms, right?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think so. And maybe that is the key. Remember how we were like, again, not insulting Square-Enix because we said that we won't do it. But like, okay.
When you say it's not about Square Enix, you're kind of making it sound like it's about Square Enix. I'm just saying. This is that whole I'm not touching you. I'm not, in the back seat of the mom and dad's car.
Not touching. But we did ask the question, like, how would they improve? How would they get out of this? And maybe it's really just taking a page out of Falcom and Capcom, like doing what you said. Like Capcom is like having a bunch of Falcoms, right? And what Falcom does is they know their niche. They're not trying to sell this game to everyone, and they really laser focus on their community. And they take time, they grow it, and they're like, okay, what do you want more of? Talk to me. Let me sell this thing to the 20% of you who matters, like you said with the Pareto, right? And let's just go, and the other 80% will follow, right?
Yeah.
And they did it really well. Anyone who is in here right now who plays Falcom games knows exactly what we're talking about here. And well, if you play Dragon's Dogma 2, it's not exactly a game that was rushed out. It came out when it was ready and to well reception.
Crazy reception. Yeah.
Oh yeah, people are absolutely loving this game. Um, so that's I don't know
It's
what else
good.
to say. It's
It's good to see that,
Mhm.
that the Japanese markets are doing so incredibly well.
Yeah,
At least some of them are
some of
doing
them.
really incredibly well.
Yeah.
And I don't mean any shade by that. Some of them are doing really well. So, I guess with that said,
Yes.
that's kind of everything that I think we had to talk about in the various discussions in the industry news.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and switch over gears to wow, a lot of super chats that came in.
Mhm.
Y'all are nuts tonight.
Mad lads.
Jeez. Okay, bring back Fluppy Dogs kicks us off
Hey!
here with Wake Up /JRPG Fund. This could also be considered a discount code for the RetroTink 4K. Appreciate you both. Well, we appreciate you and thank you for that super chat there.
Thank you so
Bring
much
back.
for that.
They also say here that I'm struggling to think of many, if any, games that haven't required day one patches and / or patches closely after lunch. Launch after lunch. Food on the brain. Are there any games released nowadays that are actually complete and finished? It's tough to say.
No. I want to
Okay,
say no.
fine. Yeah, that's the easy answer.
Yeah, I'm thinking back like all the games I played recently, they all had patches, all of them without fail. Now, how big were the patches? Maybe just like minor language thing. Maybe they just misspell the thing here or they optimize the thing there. Like
Yeah.
it could be more or less complete,
I
for all
think
intents and purposes is complete.
I don't recall any major gameplay related patches for Sea of Stars. I know that there was one shortly after the game came out due to
Mhm.
certain internet drama that we're not going to get into, but
Mhm.
there was that for Sea of Stars.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure that I think I finished it without needing any updates, so there was nothing
Mhm.
game breaking there. There might have been some
Mm.
minor bug fixes there, but I don't
Mhm.
recall any. Chained Echoes, I don't think had any game breaking bugs that I heard about.
Mhm.
Um, so the indies, I guess it's easier to, well, I don't want to say easier. It's
Mhm.
but with a really large project, it
Mhm.
can be really difficult to release something that is bug free. I think that there's a couple of angles for why this happens with day one patches. One of which is, sure, there's timelines, there's crunch, there's things, unforeseen circumstances, like, oh, on this specific hardware revision of this specific console, this thing happens when you do these things in this very
Mhm.
specific order, and it's just hard to account for that. And you don't get that accounted for until you have mass adoption and a bunch of players who can repeatedly recreate the issue.
Mhm.
So that's definitely one of those aspects, is that it's, the hardware that you're developing for at this point is very different from the Super Nintendo that had, well, it had a few hardware revisions, but
Mhm.
overall, the hardware was much simpler by comparison and had far fewer variables at play.
Mhm.
Um, whereas, so that's one of them. And then there's
Mhm.
the second side of things, which is the AAA bloat of just how expansive and how much code is required to run so many games today, that, like, it's not just a matter of, like, are there any bugs? It's like, oh man, like, anybody who's worked in software development knows that, like, the bigger your code is, the more
Mhm.
bugs you're going to have.
Mhm.
And at a certain point, it's not about making something that has no bugs. It's about putting something out and then fixing the bugs as you know about them. Because
Mhm.
if you wait until it is bug free, you are not going to release.
Yeah.
Because sometimes even like the tools that you use have bugs in them, or little idiosyncrasies that you
Mhm.
cannot personally account for without maybe an update to the underlying code
Mhm.
of like the tools that you're using, right? So it's a complicated question, but basically, the simpler the game is, the easier it is to make something that's bug free. And so, look for the indie darlings, and I think you'll have more, you know, fewer 0-day patches and things.
Mhm.
But also, if you did release a game and you thought it was bug free, and then somebody reported a bug on day one, would you not want to fix that? Like as
At
a
least,
developer,
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
like it beats the alternative, because we definitely had very buggy games that released back in the heyday, back in the golden age. Um, you know, there was some very bad localizations that occurred as well, but we didn't get patches for those. So it's you know, I don't I part of me wants to be like, yeah, things suck nowadays. They just aren't doing things the way that they should be. But the other part of me is like, there's nuance here, right?
Mhm.
But and it would be so easy to make videos that go viral because I'm like Square Enix, or
Mhm.
whatever. They f***ed up again, and just go on a rant, and I'll get a million views because everybody hate clicks. Everybody loves to pile on, and I just can't
Mhm.
bring myself to do that because
Yeah.
I want to know the answers to these things. I want to get to the gooey center, and figure out what's all occurring there, right? But
Mhm.
you know, uh,
The
nuance
hardest
is
place
dead on the internet.
to ever be in an argument is in the middle. That's just and where the nuance, like,
Where the truth is.
exists. Yeah, what the
Yeah.
truth is, a lot of times is rarely black and white. Is rarely left or right. It's usually in the middle. Uh,
Did you just
and
quote a
yeah,
song?
the no man's land in the middle. By the way,
Okay.
yeah, you see, because it's almost like you're fighting a war. Like you've got two sides just bombarding each other, and in the
Mm-hmm.
middle is the no man's land.
And it's
That's
taking and it's
typically
catching all the
where the
strays.
truth is, you know.
Yep. It's
But
where you're
where you
catching
have
all
the
the fire.
least survivability, by the way, like you just get pelt by both sides for taking the
Yeah.
middle ground. But that's where the journalistic integrity comes in. It's like, yeah, I'm not interested in winning any favors. I just want to get to the truth. So if you care about the truth, then take a journey with us. Like, let's examine the middle, right? I
Yeah.
appreciate you for that, by the way.
Well, thank you.
Am I making you blush in front of everyone? Are you blushing?
I don't know. It might just
No?
be the coffee. It's just the
Okay,
espresso going
fine.
to my head. Um,
That
we got a super chat here from Still Alive who says, in honor of Mother's Day, what
Mhm.
are each of your favorite moments from any of the Mother series games? You can go first, Baku. I know you're a big
Oh yeah,
Mother fan.
so many wonderful moments playing Earthbound, am I right? So many wonderful
It's like,
moments.
where do you even start?
Yeah, where do I even start?
Have you played Earthbound?
How do I answer this in a very like political kind of way? How do I answer this? If I was
Oh
Sarah Bond,
gosh,
how do I answer
are you
this?
going to say? Are you going to tell me that you don't love Earthbound?
So what I
Have
will
you?
say is that I respect all mothers, and I think that Mother Day is a very important day for everyone because anyone who exists and is listening to us right now has a mother. That is just scientific fact, and we should respect the fact that you have mothers and honor them by taking them, and really celebrating the day with them. So thank you so much again for asking about mothers. That is very thoughtful of you. Next.
You mother. Okay.
Was that good? Does that work?
Yeah,
I didn't even acknowledge the question.
nailed it. Nailed it.
No, seriously, I so I've not played any of the Earthbound games. That's the reason why Derek is picking at me right now. But I will say that I enjoy watching people play Mother, the entire series of games, especially Derek. Actually, watching Derek play the game, that was fun.
thank you.
Kind of showed me what I missed out on growing up. I don't want to go back and play because I just don't really care for it. I have that nostalgia factor. I'm sorry.
It has aged. It's okay.
But-
I understand. It
Yeah.
has aged, and it's, you know, the things that it delivered on back when it was new are probably delivered on equally well in other games at this point. So, but I will say that of course, I have a very soft spot in my heart for the game, and that to answer the question honestly and face forward, you know, just directly address it, you know, cut to the heart, you know,
Yes.
to the truth, the gooey center of the question is that okay, there is a scene towards the once Ness has visited all of the sanctuary locations. Minor spoilers, but it, you know, this game came out in '94. If you haven't played it by now, you're not gonna. And there's a scene that plays out. It's kind of like a flashback to Ness when he is in a crib, and it's just you don't even actually see it happen, but it's like a black and white scene. There's this, you know, white vignette, and it's just his mom and his dad talking about their son, and, you know, just talking about their hopes and dreams for that kid, you know, to be a strong, honest boy, or something to that effect. And it just, like, I don't know what it is about those kind of candid moments that that sometimes poke their head into these whimsical, funny games or things like that. But it got real for a minute there, and it is just it's just something that stuck in my head as one of the just a foundational moment of that game for me. I just love it. Yeah.
These isn't it crazy how these moments like come so naturally sometimes, and then like I won't say which one, but there are games certainly that are really trying to force those moments to happen. You're like, yeah, no, not buying it. This is too artificial. Like, I can't. Like, I'm sorry.
It's I think again though, sometimes it's easier with the games that aren't super high budget, that aren't like just yeah. I mean, Shigesato Itoi is obviously he's a prolific writer and storyteller, you know. And he might know exactly what it is about that scene that feels so magical to me, but I can't quite express it the way that I feel like it needs to be expressed.
Yeah.
So,
Well-
all right. Well, and you know what? I'll change up his question for you a little bit here, Baku. So outside of
we're not over this yet. Okay, go ahead.
I just
What
want to
you
get an
got?
honest
What you got?
answer
What
out
you
of you,
got?
Baku.
What you got?
Okay, just any scene featuring any mother in any JRPG. What's your favorite?
No, I don't remember any scenes from any of the other. So,
No, not the mother games.
The only real
any
scene
game.
I remember. Well, okay, the only real scene I remember, like very vividly remember, is going to fight the final boss, because that final boss is just so like.
No. I think you're misunderstanding. I'm not saying from the mother games. I'm saying any RPG in honor of
any
Mother's
RPG.
Day. In honor of Mother's Day, what's your favorite scene featuring
Involving mothers.
any mother in RPGs?
Chrono Trigger, when mom walks in and just wakes you up.
And you hear
I know it
Lee's
seems
bell
like a
ringing in the
silly thing
background.
to pick, but like I felt like that's the first thing that connects you to you know the reality of like where you live in. It is an important scene, right? And it's the mother. You know, I don't know. Like,
It
there's
is the
something
mother
about
of,
it that
of those
felt
tropes
like, you
as
know,
well.
Yeah.
It's the very first time I think that trope was used in an RPG, but it's not the last. That would be, you know, replicated, parodied, used several times in several games as references from there on. Um, and
Wake
and I
up,
think
Chrono.
even
Or
I think
like
Chained
any
Echoes.
time that you play a Pokemon game, like
Yeah.
your mother is the first person you talk to. I
Yeah.
feel like that's not a coincidence. Like
Certainly
anytime you
not.
play a Pokemon game, you walk downstairs, mom is right there.
Yep.
And you talk to mom before you head out to your grand adventure to become a champion. And wouldn't you know it, when you come home, you talk to mom again and be like, "Hey, mom, I'm a champion now." Like, I
Yeah.
don't know, like these things are kind of cool, like in a way where like,
Oh, Hollow Man coming in with Erica Russell from the Trails games. You've met Erica Russell before, right? In the
I
Trails
have not,
games.
I
Tita's
have not.
mom.
No, no.
Have you not played? You've played Sky the Third.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, no. Sorry, it's coming back to me. Yes.
Yes.
Tita's mom.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh man,
I was like, Russell. Okay, never
classic.
mind. No,
Yep.
Erica didn't hit, but Russell did. Okay.
Yep. I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So, moving along to the next item we got here. Odds of a Breath of Fire 1 through 4 collection physical announcement in the June showcase. Winks are permissible under NDA. Hashtag JRPG prayers. What do you think, Baku? What's the over-under on this?
There is a non-zero chance that those games that you had mentioned may be mentioned at some capacity.
Dude, can you imagine?
Back to you, Derek.
Could you imagine if that actually happened? I would probably, well, for one, I would buy it.
Right.
I was gonna say I'd freak out, but I would only freak out if they actually announced a new
I would freak
mainline
out.
entry. If
Yeah.
But HD collections, they are the next step forward from the feelers of those the
Full-on remake.
well, yeah. They are the testing of the waters that comes after the whole polling the audience thing. To see like, oh, you say you like this game series. Here's a low effort thing for us. Would you like this? And would you spend money on this? And if so, how much money? That's how they test the waters for actually making like new stuff. Trials of Mana, Trials of Mana, the HD collection of the Mana series. Square-Enix did that a while back, and then they
Absolutely.
made Trials of Mana remake, and now Visions of Mana is being made. So that's like, I feel like that's the path forward, and that's really cool. That's really cool. So hopefully, they've been testing the waters with polls for a while, and I hope that an HD collection might be the next step toward a revival. Might take some time. Might take forever, but it would be sure nice.
Just for you there, Fluffy Dog. If you want Breath of Fire, maybe check out Terra Memoria. I mean, that's a game that they really wore their inspiration on their sleeves. So I don't know. It could be a nice thing to look into. While you wait for those HD collection remakes that may or may not happen. Yeah,
All right.
take a look at those games.
This
By the way, I will test out after the stream. Just want to throw that out there while we're at it.
All right. This next one comes from Still Alive, who says, I hope this isn't too political of a topic for the show, but I honestly think that the gaming industry needs to start unionizing like other industries in order to hopefully avert mass layoffs due to greedy corporate BS. My 2 cents. And to that, I'd say, this never really used to be a very political thing until someone at some point decided to make it political. It is honestly, the union is what gave us the 5-day work week, the 40-hour work week. Before that, it was bad times to not be a Rockefeller,
OSHA anything came from unions.
Yeah.
Okay, all your workplace safety, all your accommodations, okay, all your disability, anything, okay, That's all union.
And
So-
the only the only people who stand to lose by unionizing are maybe the large corporations, the people who are pulling in those mega yachts. So yeah, somebody made it political because they want to divide us. That's not, that's not our fault, but I think that it's definitely something that I agree with. Some people should absolutely look into that if you're in the industry. Unfortunately, the people that I've spoken with in the industry, like a lot of the unions are like really small and very specific to specific organizations, like specific company unions, and not like wide sweeping like the Screen Actors Guild, or and there are some things that happen that make life a little less convenient for some unionized people. I did at one point work with Leona Renee on an interview. And then following that interview, sometime later, I was like, "Hey, I would like to borrow your voice acting talents for my stream." But because Leona Renee is part of a union, they were unable to do that. Because I'm not a unionized employee, right? I can't, or employer rather. So I cannot employ somebody who is in a union. But on the upshot is they get paid really well for what they do and have several other protections that benefits all voice actors within that union, which is incredible. So
Mhm.
I'm willing to, have that inconvenience for myself. And that's something that the benefits wildly outweigh the cons, at least in this specific instance, and in most instances. So great
Yeah.
question there, Still Alive.
I think the only time that I'm ever like a little iffy about union is when people of power unionizing. Like
Yes.
if you can't be held accountable and you unionize and you cover each other, then that's a problem, right? And it's typically people in power. Like I don't understand why you need this union if you have power over people, because now there's no accountability. But if you're people who are just you're the Amazon workers packing things, like you're about as little power as there is, like then yeah, like unionizing absolutely makes sense. So there's some nuance to it, I'm sure, but and there's no like right answer, because if it was that simple, if there's one thing that is just better period under all circumstances, we just do that thing. But that's not the case. even
Yeah.
even for people who are being benefited, there could be inconveniences, sort of like what Derek had pointed out, but we kind of wait that out as like for a fellow human being and say, okay, what makes the most sense for this world, right? And we support that decision. um so yeah, not political at all. And here's the reason why: we can speak to it as a matter of policies, and just in terms of what we know about the world. So as long as that's the case, we can very much keep it not political.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on, this one says here, I've been slowly moving away from Xbox games for a while now. To be perfectly honest, all of the major three trending towards all digital. It just makes me desire retro games and emulation more. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I feel that way about not just video games, but all forms of media.
Mhm.
One of the projects, I don't know if I've talked about it here on HitPoint lately or not, has been building my own home media server, which I've used to back up all of my DVDs and all of my Blu-rays, so that I just have them always available to me. And I've canceled all of my streaming services.
Hmm.
And does that mean that I don't get to watch, the new Yu Yu Hakusho? Does it mean that I don't get to watch the new?
Hmm. Answer
Well,
me
I'll-
this,
I will-
Riddler. I mean,
I
Batman.
I mean, hypothetically, maybe if that was something that yeah. So, anyways, Amy and I watched the new Yu Yu Hakusho recently. By the way,
Mhm.
it was really
Oh,
really good
yeah?
at first,
Mhm.
and then they tried to cram too much together at once.
That's
Because it
always
has a
sucks,
total of
man.
5 episodes that are each about an hour long. But like
Mhm.
the first two are good, and then like if you, I feel like somebody who watches just the show will be like,
Mhm.
I feel like I'm missing out on something, and you're right.
Yeah.
But people who watch the other show and can just appreciate this for what it is, like the fight choreography was really good.
Mm.
If you just
Okay.
if you go in and just kind of ignore, like, you know what you're getting into, you're like, am I
Mhm.
really going to get 100 episodes worth of anime in these 5 episodes of live action? No.
Mhm.
And are they going to do some stupid things to make it happen? Yes.
Mhm.
But here are some moments that if you squint and turn your head a little bit like so, then you're like, okay, that's actually pretty cool. That's actually really cool. So, anyways, that was cool. So was Wednesday. I finally caught
Mhm.
up on that.
Wednesday. I
Yeah,
think I.
they had a copy of it at the local library actually.
Oh, what?
My library has a huge Blu-ray and DVD collection,
Oh, that's interesting.
and so do I.
Yeah, I watched it. It was alright. I didn't understand the big, you know.
Uh,
Yeah,
there were some issues with Wednesday, I guess, in that
fair
it was kind of presented like a whodunit, but then it didn't ever give you enough details to figure out who done it, and
Yeah.
you know, so that bugged me a little bit. But I'll definitely watch season 2.
Most of the acting were pretty good, so I give them
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, I don't know what that had to say about you know, moving away from Xbox, but and digital only, but you know, it does seem like perfect sailing weather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm gonna stay on physical for as long as I can, but you know, at some point, like I just don't foresee this as like a thing that we can keep up, either
Mhm.
because of production costs or just because of all the extra work that's required. But
The
boy, like switching to all digital, like we have the whole Funimation, Funimation issue,
Yeah,
right? Where
yeah. That was the
um
impetus for my decision to make that, by the way.
Oh yeah, terrible. And for those who don't know, like basically, Crunchyroll, what Sony bought Crunchyroll, Crunchyroll bought Funimation, and then they're merging into Crunchyroll, which is fine. But then a bunch of things that you purchased, okay, but they're digital, but you purchased it should be yours. Well, is it still yours if you have no way of getting the thing, if no accessing it anymore? Do you still own the thing, or are you simply leasing a thing?
Mhm.
That's the thing that people need to take up to the government and really just force these companies to, if you're going to sell a thing, either you will in a fine print say how long this will last, like how much you promise you have access to within reason, or it's perpetual, like, or that for certain other games, like service games, like that they will release like open source code for people
That
at
would
the
be
end of
something.
service, so that you can continue to build your own server. There are actual
Yeah.
feasible ways to keep it up if you so desire, as a person who has purchased the game,
Yep.
something like that. It's the same set of
The
problems.
the
Yeah.
caveat that I will mention though
Mhm.
is indies, you got to support them. Even, I mean, of course I prefer physical copies of indie titles whenever possible, but yeah, when a game is brand new and it is available to be purchased and it is an indie title, support your indies for real. People put in so much blood, sweat, and tears that to not do that, it's like kicking puppies. You know, it's awful. Don't do it. Like,
It's like
why would you
kicking
do
puppies.
that?
Well,
Yeah, why? How could you? Okay. All right, and then we got this one here from Fluffy Dogs, who says, Apes strung together. JRPGs forever.
Well,
Facts. Yep. Absolutely.
I think those are our closing words for the night right there.
All right. You said it. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for watching.